achieve success with Global.Media.com. Every step forward is a new beat to your drum. Achieve success with Global.Media.com. Then celebrate it with or without champagne.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello and welcome. Hello, Annie. How you doing? Annie is with us, I believe, but preoccupied right now. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so good to be here. Good to see you. Sorry, my little one is just bringing me something that he really wants me to see. You know how children get onto you when they think you are no longer watching them or doing something. They want your attention in that very moment that you choose to, or you choose either you answer a phone call or you're trying to do some kind of live. That's when they decide to come and get your attention the most. So yes, my apologies for the slight distraction. Welcome and good day to you all. Don't know where you're joining us from. So if you're joining us tonight for the first time, I am Christina T. Johnson, and I'm a miscarriage and baby loss coach. So please, by all means, do type in the comments. Tell us if you are joining us from, I don't know, the States, wherever in the world you are. Let us know where you're joining us from. If for any reason, hi Natalie, if for any reason you are appearing as LinkedIn user, like I sometimes do, without even realizing it's happening to my account, please do type your name next to your comment so I know that you are, that you who you are, so we can greet you properly. We can say hi to you. Fantastic. Oh, hi Nat, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. So today, guys, I want to know how you're doing, how your week has been, how your plans are going. What's your goal for this year? Do you have any goals? Well, I'm sure you have goals. What are they? And have you had any wins so far in January? I know I have. It's always good to share our wins. Always good to talk about something positive. Bearing in mind that what we speak about here is quite sensitive, can be quite emotional for some, and is highly raw. But we do always say we are open. This is a judgment-free space, a space where you can come and share. We can come and have discussions that are frank, that are honest. Vulnerability is welcome here. So I do want you guys to join me in the studio today and tell me all about, one, how your week has gone so far to begin with, what your goals are for this month, and then we can carry on. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Konik, I will definitely, I think I sent you the link already. But if you are able to join us, you can use the link in the comments. Hello, Annie. Oh, hello. Annie. Is that Annie Foster? I'm thinking. Welcome. Nice to see you here again. Hi, Annie. Thank you for joining us. It's so good to know you're here. And if I haven't already said this, if we haven't met this year already, I'm going to say Happy New Year. I know it's the 22nd of the month and I'm saying Happy New Year. Shock horror. But I've not seen everybody. So I'm going to say Happy New Year to those I haven't encountered this year so far. Okay, let's see who has joined us and who is with us. So we've got Natalie so far. Natalie, please feel free to join us on stage. And Annie, if you can join us on stage, that would be really great. Okay, sorry guys, this is what happens. My apologies. Hold on, baby. Sorry, folks. Bear with me a second. Sorry. My apologies. They say never work with animals, with children, or live TV because you just don't know what's going to happen. Oh my goodness, Jessie's here. It's been too long. Happy New Year to you. So good to see you. Oh, well, to know you're here, I'm sure we'll meet up at some point and catch up. It's been way too long. Hi, Curtis. Thank you for being here. It's great to see you guys here. I am so blessed, so happy to see you guys. Good afternoon, good evening. Kemi, good to see you. Oh, wow, you're here. You're here this evening. Well, today, might be evening where you are, or morning or afternoon where you are. So, yes, please let us know where you're joining us from. It'd be great. So let us know where you're calling, where you're joining us from. Yeah, and how your day is going so far and how your year has gone so far. Your small wins, big wins. Let us know all about how you are doing. Okay. So whilst whilst we're going to wait for Annie to join us, let's talk about what we're going to talk about. Okay. I do want to ask Curtis, in fact, did we put the link on in the comment section? Let me add the link to the comment section because Curtis, Jesse, I would like you guys to come and join us on stage. I really want to hear from men today. It's so important that we hear from the men. It's so important that we kind of I do want to hear your take, especially Curtis that works in this space with working with men and supporting men. I'd be really honored to have you on stage with me to have this discussion and conversation. So please let me see if I can find the link to this to begin with. Okay. So, Annie sent it to me. Thank you, Annie. Superstar Annie, who is currently doing some work behind the scenes. He'll be with us soon. He'll be joining us on this show shortly. Okay. Sorry, folks. Right, I'm just going to add the link to join me on stage in this chat in the comment section. So please feel free to join us on there. There you go. So we have the StreamYard link now. I'm hoping this is the right link. Okay. All right. So guys, the first thing to say about the show, as usual, when I do my shows, I always like to begin with statistics. And I've said this like so many times, and I'm sure those who are regulars here would have heard. My apologies. Tiny people. We have a tiny one. This is what happens. Okay. Right. So, as I was saying, I like to begin the show with please do let me know if you can see by way of message, if you can see the link for the studio in the comment section, please. Thank you. Okay. Great. All right, Natalie, can you confirm for me, please, if possible, if you can see the link on there? So as I was saying, often I begin with some stats. So for those of you who perhaps haven't joined this LinkedIn live series previously, as we know, for some of you that always are here, I want to say thank you actually for supporting those who are joining in new to this show. Thank you for being here. I thank you for supporting this show. We've been going now for over, oh goodness me, for over a year. So we clocked 1 year last July and 18 months, I would say just over 18 months. We've been going on for yes, just about 18 months, every 2 weeks on a Thursday. Previously, it was in the daytime. Now it's in the evening in the UK. So, as I was saying, 1 in 4 will experience miscarriage and baby loss. 1 in 8 couples experience fertility challenges. And in all of that, the one thing in my experience and in my practice is that the men tend to be forgotten. The men are the ones who support us as women. And even in my own experience, what I have noticed is this: the men are seldom addressed when you are faced in front of healthcare practitioners. When you have an appointment, for example, the men are not necessarily involved or spoken to. The women are the most, you know, addressed. So we tend to be asked the questions because we're the ones carrying the baby, so to speak. We're the ones who are embodying and carrying that pregnancy. What tends to do. Okay, so Natalie says that the stream is not appearing. Thank you for letting me know, Natalie. So it's not in there. I'm not sure what's going on. Let me try again. Sorry, guys. I just want to make sure that I have this link. So the link is at the top of the event page. Not my page. Whose page is this? Let me see. This is my page. Yes. It isn't showing apparently. Oh. Okay. It's showing now. There must be a delay then because I posted it quite a few minutes ago. Thank you, Natalie. Awesome. Yes, please join us on stage. The link is in the comment section of this event. Okay, so as I was saying, what tends to happen is the men are the ones who are, I would say, excluded. That's the right word. My thoughts tell me excluded from the conversations that take place. What also happens is the men are the ones who, have to. No, I say have to. They look after us. They're there for us. They wipe our tears. We cry on their shoulders. We we attend appointments. We are accompanied, I would say. We go together to appointments. And yet what tends to happen is men are left in isolation, excluded, in silence, forgetting that they too are hurting. They too are experiencing the same loss in real time, in the same way that, the woman is experiencing that same loss. And I'm going to say this to begin with. We forget that the journey of bringing a life into this world takes two. And in my practice, particularly where you have, a couple who this has been their dream. For some, it's been the whole of their marriage. They've spent so many years trying to conceive, trying to make this happen, trying to start a family, or for some trying to, grow their family. And then this trauma happens, and then you're left with one party being left out in the cold, so to speak, in the whole operation, the whole journey, the whole story. So that is incomplete. That's when you think about it. Imagine it was us. Let's just for a second imagine the women who are completely ignored, who are completely, sidestepped, who are not addressed in appointments, and then it comes to the grieving part. So in my practice, I've had men tell me they feel like strangers in their own homes. They are not allowed to grieve without seeking permission. Not necessarily being told to seek permission, but it feels that way. And so, okay, so somebody asked me the question, why this topic? This topic for me, as you know, when I bring things to the table or bring things to this show, any topic I bring to this show, there's always a conversation or an encounter or words or something I've heard that's really inspired me to bring a topic to the table. And so this happened just a few weeks ago. I say a few weeks because it's just before the end, the new year, over the festive um, season. Christmas is time that families gather together to have conversations, to meet up, friends gather, people gather. You get to see those you haven't seen for a while. You get to hear all kinds of stories. You share stories with each other. It's a good time to catch up with those you haven't caught up with in a while. And this conversation came up. And it was really quite an interesting conversation in the sense that it was good to really observe both the female and the male perspective. Hi, Linda, welcome. It was good to really observe the male and female perspective, to watch how the women spoke about how the men grieve, and to listen to some of the way in which the grieving process is described, men versus women, not necessarily against each other, but just a conversation. And for me, that was an even more of an eye opener. Doing what I do, I'm always intrigued in conversations around the topic of miscarriage and baby loss. Furthermore, I'm always intrigued in terms of each person's perspective, the man's perspective, the woman's perspective. And so I thought, what's better way to start the year? What hit me in those conversations with this? How unaware that sometimes people, whether you're male or female, people can be about the true impact of miscarriage or baby loss to men. And I saw this in those conversations. I saw this in just how candidly people spoke, and not just the men, not just the women, sorry, even some of the men. So bear in mind, these are some men who've not experienced this trauma before, whose perspective is, oh, well, you can really just come over it or get over it, or that happened last year or so many years ago. The reality is, whether it happened yesterday or so many years ago, each person and each man, I would say, have a way of dealing with this. But the one point that came up and people really struggled with was the topic and the point of identity. Identity in terms of, as us women, we're like, okay, our identity. Hi, Jesse. Our identity is, is lost. As a woman, you think to yourself, this is what God has asked me to do, to bring a life into the world. Okay. And therefore, when that doesn't happen, and I can also speak from my personal experience, when that doesn't happen, you begin to question and doubt yourself and your own body. Let's partner for a second. Then let's think about when it's a male, right, who then experiences that loss and begin to question themselves. I'm supposed to be a father. So in my experience, going through 3 losses, I can really hear what my husband was saying and where he was coming from, and there's that questioning. So what do I do now? Because that identity initially has been wrapped around being a father. You're looking forward to, all the things you're going to do with your child, especially if they're males. I can speak for us. We have a son, and my husband is completely wrapped in our son because it's a boy. We can play football. We can do all these things, right? The conversation ended up in identity because the argument then was men too do lose identity, some kind of identity, because of the emotional part. But as society, we tell ourselves that men don't have emotions, and yet research shows that they do. Why? Because we are humans first and foremost. And I want you guys to think about this for a moment. we're human beings. Before we become, fathers, mothers, professionals, we are humans first of all. And with human beings comes emotion or emotions, whether you're male or female. But I want to take the time to pause and to welcome Curtis and to welcome Jesse. Oh my goodness, Jesse, I haven't seen you in forever.
I know it's been forever. How's it going,
I've
everybody?
his
What's going on?
face.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year.
We're in a new time, 2026 energy. I love it. This is a great time. How you doing, brother Curtis? Nice to meet you.
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. How you doing, Christina?
I'm great. It's so good to finally meet you and see your face in person.
Yeah, likewise, likewise.
It's amazing. So it's wonderful to have these beautiful, beautiful men in this room. I'm so honored and I feel so blessed to have you guys both here on stage with me. It's wonderful, wonderful to have you here. And I'm indeed waiting for your well, I'll leave the floor to you guys. So I want to hear first from Curtis, if that's okay, Jesse, and we'll come over to you. What is your thought and your take on this topic, men identity, miscarriage, and baby loss, and how men are overlooked when it comes to this trauma?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so I've been following you for a while, Christina. So great conversations. I appreciate them as well. And
Thank
nice to
you.
meet you for the first time, Jesse, as well. Yeah, it's just a great conversation, great question. And I've experienced that as a man. My wife, now wife, had a miscarriage, and it was devastating. It was absolutely devastating. I didn't quite know how to feel at first because we went into the office, and she had been dealing with some went to the hospital, I should say. She had been dealing with some pains or discomfort somewhere, and unbeknownst to me, I obviously didn't know what was going on. And she's had children before, so she kind of know the thing already, kind of the process, and so she was not comfortable with the pain or whatever she was going through. And so we, immediately went to the hospital, and come to find out she was, I guess the body going through what it was going through, or it was having a miscarriage and all that stuff that the body goes through. And I remember going to the hospital, or at least being in the doctor's office. He's talking to my wife. My wife, she, being a mom of two prior to our first child together, she was obviously aware of the process and knew the language, and I didn't. This is my second child, but still, a lot of us as men, we're away from that stuff a lot of times. And so here I was. Okay, hold on 1 second, baby girl. 1 second, mama. So here I was away from. 1 second, baby girl. 1 second. Here I was away from those conversations prior to, but now 1 second, baby girl. 1 second, baby girl. 1 second. I'm sorry. Here I was away from those conversations and having to deal with, again, what felt like he was speaking a foreign language. 1 second, baby girl. Having to feel like he was speaking a foreign language in the midst of this ordeal that was taking place. Jesse, let me go ahead and let you go, and I'll come back to that.
Can I say something? It's the same. Mine is here in my ears. I have to say, just this is the. I always say, don't never work with children, live animals.
God bless you, brother. Your job is never done, and you're blessed in what you're doing right now because you're balancing two worlds, just like a female. And I just have to say, it's a wonderful thing, and it's a blessing. And of course, you got to learn how to maneuver the different emotions and try to be your best self. So I commend you. I do.
So that being said, Jesse, I'll let you go, and then I'll come back.
Okay, no problem. From my point of view, I'm not a father. I'm an uncle. I'm a godfather, cousin. I'm a nephew. And I'm just an overall person that's been around a lot of guys, and I've been around a lot of children most of my life. And when it comes to loss for men, we don't always show it. As far as the emotions, we don't cry about it as far as in front of other people at times, because I think sometimes we're trying to understand our own emotions in relation to the situation. And we maybe kind of look at it, okay, how can I be there to nurture my wife or even my female friend? or even my brother who maybe he had a miscarriage, his girlfriend had a miscarriage. How can I be a strong representation for them, a shoulder to lean on? How can I be strategically involved to help them deal with their emotions?
Mm.
And sometimes our emotions can be pushed to the wayside by ourselves and by what we see on television, what we see on social media, all the negative illusions, trying to create a scapegoat for our emotions. And I think it's a problem because we can see in society today, a lot of men and women are seeing the effects of what happens when you bottle your emotions up. When you bottle your emotions up, it's just like a pot just boiling over, boiling over. And then once it's boiled over, there's nothing left. And once all the water boils out that pot, what do you have? That steam, and then the fire can start. And same thing with men. Our emotions are boiling and boiling, especially when it comes to a loss of a child. A loss of a child, something that you created. And we don't get the chance to really talk about that or even how it affects the community. Because I have brothers, I have sisters, and they have husbands, and I talk to them. And if something happens to their child, it's going to affect me because I have to get involved in it some way, somehow. And it's always a way of trying to talk to them sometimes in a way that their wife can't see it or in a way that they can feel comfortable. Because a lot of times emotions, like I said before, are pushed back. And we have to understand that the emotion that you have is human. Just like you said, we're all human. We're flesh, blood, bone, and steel. We're creators. And so when we're creating a child, there's love in that, there's strength, and there's character. We're trying to impart all the things that we are as men into our children and into all the people around us. So I think we need to really start to get rid of the old narratives, the old established way of dealing with our emotions, because we show emotions all the time. Because we're laughing, we're making jokes. That's an emotion. We're crying over something that may not be related to a child. We're always showing emotion. It's all about what is emotion to you and how does it matter to the other person. That's what I'm thinking based on what you guys just said for the last few moments.
Thank you, Jesse. I love that. What is emotion to you? That's something that we don't ask enough of. I believe that we don't ask enough of when it comes to men. I say that women can gather anywhere and have conversations. We can be in the shopping aisle, right? You guys could have Walmart over here. We have Asda over here, and we can be in the middle of Walmart and have a whole mother's meeting about life, about struggles, about this, about so many things. That's part of our makeup. But when it comes to men, you have to find spaces and places. And what I know, I don't know about you guys in the US, but here in the UK, it's a space that used to exist, but these days are few and far between. It's providing these safe spaces that men can go and say, I'm hurting, I'm feeling this, I want to talk about what's happened. We shouldn't have to hide our emotions as men. We shouldn't have to, because one thing that, again, going back to the conversation before Christmas, is I heard men saying, well, we're the providers, we're the ones who are the protectors, we're there to protect the women. Yes and no at the same time. What I mean by yes, that's what we've been told for as long as we've known Earth's creation. But no, because when it comes to this particular subject, this topic, and this trauma, it takes two. There are two involved in this, and therefore both parties must be acknowledged, right? Must be acknowledged. Without that, I'm talking about not even in the work environment. We haven't even touched the work environment yet, or the workplaces yet. We're looking at homes. The last time
Hey,
we had this conversation, sorry, carry on.
Christine, if I can interject this piece here, I think I said it, kind of commented, I think what last week or the week before when you had your conversation with Annie,
Yeah.
uh, is that I could really applaud you on what you're doing, and a mouthpiece for us men, because we need more women speaking up for us. We really do. But I think oftentimes the men, I don't think a lot of women are ready for these conversations.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
and yeah, I don't think, honestly, I don't think a lot of them are ready for these conversations, because that means that they have to pause and consider someone else other than themselves.
Hmm.
And, especially when a world that we live in, or in just, and I don't even necessarily know that, I wouldn't say all over the world, but here in the States and probably in Europe as well, the part of Europe, the women have absolutely been the women have absolutely been catered to. You know, and so and I think for us as men, we naturally will cater to our mothers. You know, even as small children or boys, we naturally cater to our boys to our mothers, and want to take care of mom. Want to make sure that mom is taken care of. That mom is quiet. What's wrong, mom? And things of that nature. And we're just, you know, as you said, we're natural providers and protectors and things of that nature. But I think that we as men, we haven't known. I mean, and this is not necessary. Hold on, baby girl. Hold on. This is not necessary towards with women, but I think that men have not known their position coming from a spiritual perspective.
Yes.
And because they have not known their position, and obviously, absolutely, women have play a huge part in that spiritual connection for all of us. You know, just through humanity, they play a major role. Daddy's talking. Hold on. So, because women play that major role, men have not known their role. And because they haven't known their role, we've partnered with this false narrative, so to speak, that said, "Hey, we'll put you over there. You know, we just need for you to provide and protect and things of that nature. That's what we need you to do." And and unfortunately, as providers and protectors, we're like, wait a minute, I'm spending my money, I'm taking my household. I absolutely should have a say so in what I'm doing and what's going on in the household.
Yes.
And again, still in most cases pushed aside and said, hey, you know, I just need you to, you know, handle that piece. But again, just overall, I don't think a lot of women are ready for that conversation, because that means that they have to consider someone else other than themselves. And this is not a dig against women. This is just what they've been. This is what they've been brought up into. This is what how they've been raised. And so it's so much a part of who they are, and you know, almost just, I don't know, just selfish. That's the word, selfish. And it's just almost who they are, who they become. Again, it's not a dig. It's just that this is what society has allowed. And so it becomes even harder to hold them accountable for certain things. And because if you say, well, look, you know what, honey, I didn't like the way you said that. Now, are you labeled as a punk or a chump or, you know, because you don't like the way she said something, and now she's got to consider your feelings about how you felt about something because you're crossing a border, you know, some kind of border, a boundary. And so it can be very difficult saying that, hey, you know what, you've got a woman recognizing her triggers. Men have triggers too.
Yes.
Men have through HELL and back, you know, much as women have. And we handle it differently because we've had to handle it differently.
Yes. That's why I always say men grieve differently. They say men are from Mars and women are from Venus, right? There's a reason for that. That's an absolute right. And thank you for your share. I will come to Jesse in a moment. And Justin is connected to con. So thank you for joining us. So before I just want to hear Jesse's take on it, because I have my opinion of what you just shared with us, and thank you for sharing so candidly. Your thoughts, please, Jesse.
I think it's a lot to do with our environment. What does our environment look like? What are some of the things that's been affecting us traditionally for the last, we'll just say 10, 20, 30 years? Everything is generational. Everything has a root. Every seed is buried in the soil. So men and women, we're seeds. So when you have a child and you implant negative imagery, you implant negative information, you implant stereotypical programming every single day in the way you eat, the way you love, the way you care, the way you express emotion, that's going to come back to you. You have unstable household, you have unstable way of thinking. Those are the things that are really affecting us the most. men and women alike, because we're all being targeted by different things. For example, me and you may look at the sun. I may look at the sun and say, "Oh, that's beautiful," or you may look at the sun and say, "Hey, that's warm." So we're both looking at the same thing, but we're both getting different experiences based on our environmental influences. That's the same thing with men. What are men looking for in a woman? What are women looking for in a man? That comes down to how they were raised and the last 10 things they've been influenced by for the last 10 years. And what are their role models? Then you'll understand why men and women are reacting the way they act to one another, why they have love, and why they have sometimes disharmony. We have to look at everything strategically. Everything needs to be looked at with heart, mind, body, and soul, and strategically, so we can see the roots of everything, because everybody has lost something, everybody's trying to gain something, and everybody's going to lose something. So now, is my loss bigger than yours? As a man, I may have lost 5 or 6 different things that you never lost. Now, because I chose you as a partner, I need to know that we could come together. But if your losses or your gains don't match mine at all, we may have friction. So we need to be in some type of alignment for the conversation to take place. We need to ignore all the minutia, all the noise, all around us, all the flooding of information, all the people, all the family, sometimes, of course, but we need to spend time really understanding and speaking your truth openly and honestly. It takes time to learn how to speak your truth because, like I said, the environment makes you feel something you cannot speak your truth. But if you're in alignment with who you truly are, and your partner is in alignment with who they truly are, you can say what you want to say to them, and they will give you the space. They may not agree, because we're not always going to agree with anything. That's just not how it is. I disagree with a lot of things, but I have an open mind to listen and think, okay, there's accountability here. Whether you take accountability or not, I'm still going to listen, and I'm still going to give you the floor because I'm strong in myself. But of course, it's hard when the heart is involved. When the heart is involved in any form of relationship, that's when it gets dirty. That's when it gets ignorant. That's when people start to look at, oh, I said this and you said that. But in reality, when we're speaking with anger, there's usually pain behind the anger. It's never really projected at someone else. Is that my voice did not get heard because of something else. Maybe 10 years ago when I was a child, or 20 years ago when I was a child. And so you remind me of that, and vice versa. We have to learn about our triggers. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I keep going. Go ahead.
It's all right. Thank you.
How about you, the whole church sermon?
It's okay. We're coming to a church sermon. I expect that. Trust me. It's been a long time coming. I'm here for it. So let me first of all welcome. Is it Conic? How are you pronouncing your name? Let me. I don't want to butcher your name. So
You
please
didn't butcher it. It is
thank
Conic. You've done it fine.
Thank you so much. Okay, let me debrief here. So hearing both Curtis and Jesse speak, the one thing I'm going to say, and remember this conversation began from a Christmas conversation, right? And we're now talking about this. So the one thing I'm going to say, and I said this during that moment, is what is happening is we're taking love out of our dealings, okay? Now we know that a loss of a baby or a pregnancy is traumatic, very traumatic. And I can say that from somebody who's experienced 3 losses. It's traumatic. And therefore, we forget. That's why this is us operating our human endeavor. We forget. But let's begin the point. And this is the point I say to my couples in my practice. This journey began with love. Let's not forget that. The journey, I'm gonna go another step back. When I began, I said, we're all human beings first and foremost, right? And as human beings, we come together in love. I'm gonna go even a step back and take it to, from a faith perspective, when God made Adam, when he made man, he made a woman to be what? A support, to be there for them to grow and to love and to function together. He didn't say, by the way, I'm making you, now you can be by yourself, because if that's the case, we can walk around in the world lonely, right? So I'm saying these to say that it's really important that the first action that we should have is love. Whether you are in a workspace or you are in your own personal space. I'm saying this based on the fact that I've heard men say to me, I feel like a stranger in my own home. That should not be happening. So it is love, first of all, because you began this journey of bringing a life into the world with love. Okay, so why do we get to a trauma and get to loss and the love is thrown out the window? That to me makes no sense. And going back to what Curtis, you said, if women are even ready to have that conversation, here is what happens. And the reason why I believe that although we're ready, some of us are, some of us are having that conversation because we come to it with love. We come to it with understanding. We've come to, if I refer to Jesse, we've come to it with heart. When you remove heart out of it, then you start to get the frustrations, you start to get the anger, the resentment, the everything else in between. I have seen this trauma break down marriages and relationships in my practice, and having to piece back together. I would get to the point of, actually, we do genuinely love each other. This is why we started this to begin with. And having to remember why and what is it that is causing this friction or causing this frustration. And quite often it comes down to a lack of communication and understanding. Whether you are in a home or whether you're in a workplace, your employers don't understand what you're going through. I know because I have employers who say to me, we don't know what to do. We just don't know what to do. We're going to raise our hands. I'm like, you can't do that. You've got to commit yourself to supporting your workforce or your colleagues or your staff. Now, how are we going to do that? My first question to them is this. If this was your brother, sister, mother, father, cousin, niece, seriously, niece or nephew, how would you like them to be treated? How would you like them to be supported? Right? Compassionately. That's the first thing. And so it means that we can start to begin to think, okay, we're humans. Again, going back to the human thing, we're humans. So we must show compassion. Then we must show the love, because out of love comes compassion. Without love, there is no compassion. Okay? And so it's really important that we really think about these things. And when I begin to break down exactly what's needed piece by piece. So in my practice, this is what I do in my practice. We look at things, and sometimes people come with trauma of losing a child. But what I find, especially with men, is attached to that is a long-standing, for some men, resentment of not being seen or heard or acknowledged. And by the time you get to having a child, because again, we have women that say, well, I'm now at this point in my life or this age, we need to have a family. We have the family, but the man feels like he's dragged along the whole process and not really communicated with, instead of being to. So it's really important that we really think about, number one, the love we began with is a love that we must end with, especially in a trauma like this. And that is something that I see seldom happens until we start to really talk about it honestly, openly. And I even go through things like, one exercise I have with my couples is this. You have 50 minutes each to have a conversation. Okay. I've watched the women watch the men in shock, thinking, I didn't know my partner felt like this. I have never heard that from him before. I didn't even realize. I wasn't aware this is what's happening. And so it's important that we take our time to really show that love that you begin with. I mean, you said I do it for starters. It was in love, right? You walked the journey. You went through, for some couples, it takes years to get pregnant. And I understand that by the time you get to after 7 years of trying to get pregnant, there is so much that happens in that time, right? But the one thing I say is, you've got to keep checking in on each other throughout the whole process. Yours is not more valuable than my journey. We're in this together. I'm going to pause. I'm going to open the floor to Connie for you to please share, and welcome. Thank you for being here, for joining us. I appreciate you being here. We're just newly, I think we kind of spoke we commented 2 days ago.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
week. So I'm just. Are you in Nottingham?
I do. Yeah, I live in Nottingham.
I'm in Derby.
Oh, we should meet for coffee sometime. I was in Derby
We are
on
going
Monday.
to
Yeah, let's
definitely.
do
We're
that.
going
Let's meet for
to.
coffee.
We're 20 minutes away from each other, by the way, by car.
Yeah, let's do that. That'd be great. Look, I missed some of this because I was driving and I really wanted to listen to it, but I was missing some bits that were being said.
It's
But
okay.
Jesse was saying some stuff that I was like,
Yes.
you really got a point there, my man. It
Yes.
is the environment. Like, there's a lot of
Yes,
things here,
it is.
things that I'm thinking about that I was writing down
Mhm.
that allows, I think, us as men to talk, to express, is the environment, it's the love, it's the permission, and it's the communication. Okay,
Yeah.
Every relationship starts with communication. It doesn't matter whether it's platonic, or marriage, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all about the communication. And I think, like, so we've had a recent pregnancy loss. So we've been trying for. We
Sorry
tried
to hear that,
14
by the way.
times. Thank you, appreciate that. We tried 14 different times. The IVF clinics got involved, etc., etc. We got pregnant we found out we were pregnant in November, and then 6 weeks later, just before Christmas, we lost the pregnancy.
Wow.
And it was hard, but we've coped with it reasonably well. I've seen some horrific stories with couples, and doing a bit of research into this at the moment. And I think we've fared reasonably well. And the reason I'm going to say we've fared reasonably well is because we've learnt to communicate. So in my first marriage, on my second marriage, I didn't have the permission to be who I was. I wasn't able to talk. I wasn't in the right environment. It doesn't matter whose fault it is. It's nobody's fault. She came with baggage. I came with baggage. I wasn't able to grow as a man and to be there as the husband she needed me to be. I've then got married again, and with the lady I'm married to, Laura, lost the pregnancy with. Laura's a psychologist. She's done lots about psychology and communication, this, that, and the other, and allowed me the space to say how I felt, and the space to say I didn't know how I felt, because I didn't know if it was okay to call myself a dad. Was I a dad? I lost my child. Am I allowed to say that I'm a dad or not? Because I'm a childless father. I don't have this baby to hold. Am I a dad? Can I say that? And I didn't know what I could and couldn't say. And I remember coming to her one night, and I said to her, I've been there for you. I've let you be able to grieve, and I want you to still be able to trust me so that you can grieve. But I need you to be there for me for a minute. I need a minute to cry. Okay. I need a minute. And it was really hard, even though we communicate really well with each other. It was so hard for me to allow her to hold me and for me to cry, because I felt that I had to be strong and be there for her, because you're on this all the time. And this says I have to be strong. When I was here in the RAF, when I was a gunner in the RAF, it was man up. You had to man up all of the time. So I didn't get that chance to be a bit more softer. Do you know what I mean? So I think those four things, like I said, the environment, the love, the communication, the permission, is really important. And the last thing that I want to say on this is, and again, this comes to environment, and I think what Jesse was getting to is, so I used to watch a lot of videos, a lot of films, a lot of TV series when I was in my first marriage. And all I saw was what Hollywood gave me of what a man was. Okay. So I used to think that was how it worked. I fell out with my wife. I just needed to give her a kiss and buy her some flowers and everything would be okay again. And that's not how it works. Okay, buy the flowers, you know what I mean? Give the affection, but there's more to it than that. So I didn't have any good role models growing up. I didn't have any role models as a young man, as a man in my 20s, as a man in my 30s. I didn't have those good role models. So once I kind of like realized that, hang on a minute, the way that Hollywood is portraying this isn't the way that it works, then I was able to communicate more, because there's not very many Hollywood things that you watch where a pregnancy loss happens. But when you watch it, it's done like that. The woman grieves a little bit. The guy goes to work, goes to the bar, he drinks, whatever. He comes back home, and then, right, we're in baby making mode and we're trying again, kind of thing. That's what Hollywood is showing you, that a woman acts and a man acts, and that is absolutely not how it works. So I think the environment thing is really important. But I'm going to leave it there, because like Jesse, I could just talk about this for ages. But
We're here. It's okay. Let's do this. Thank you so much, Connick. I appreciate what you're saying. And do you know something? I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry for your loss. My heart goes out to you and your wife. It isn't something that we expect to happen. You don't even consider it. And here's the other point. I believe that this needs to be taught. I've said this before to both men and women, younger men and women, and especially to men, for them to be able to understand that when it gets to that point, they're not left. If they ever experience, I mean, God forbid, if they ever experience it, they're not left in shock. They're not left isolated. They're not left excluded. They're not left feeling like they did something wrong. Because I've had a lot of men who say, "Oh, it's something that I did wrong, or something I did before in my past. Now it's haunting me." From another perspective, or I'm cursed. So there's a lot of things that I've heard that are, in my humble opinion, misconceptions and myths that we shouldn't be carrying around. Okay. And going back to the environment, the communication aspect is so important. And you're right in what you both have said. Everything begins with communication. It is how we begin the communication. And I love the fact that you went to your wife, Connick, and said, I need a minute. I need a minute to just be me. I need a minute to just cry out. I need a minute to grieve for our loss. Because yes, she's experiencing that loss and she's going through it, but you two are good because it was both your dreams. At the start, I did say this. It begins with two. For some of my couples, this for them is like the icing on the cake. They've done the career, they have all of the stability, they have the home, they have X, Y, and Z, and they're at the point where a family would be the cherry on the top, would be something that they would just settle down and spend time with the family and enjoy being parents, and then trauma happens. And to also add to what you said, I picked on when you said, am I a dad? This is the question. Sorry, my tiny person. This is the question. This is the question. I have both male and female as a question. It's a question, but also a comment. I hear a lot. Just before Christmas, I had a client who, was I really had to work with them to even be able to utter the words, I am a parent, without the evidence, right? You're a parent, you're a father. You may not have the evidence to show, but you're definitely a parent. You embarked on that journey, okay? Because it's a journey. You embarked on a journey, and hearing you've had 14, I think you said, was it 14 trials, 14 attempts? For starters, that is not, it's not an easy road. It takes grit and it takes heart. It takes physical energy, right? It takes mental energy to go through that over and over and over again. So that shows your heart. If nothing else, it shows your heart and truly what you want and how you want to bring a child into this world. And that alone makes you a father. Okay? So I want you to walk away from this today knowing and saying to yourself, I am a father. Despite no evidence, I am a father. And just to think about, back to the environment, conversation, it's really important, the environment we surround ourselves in. Because not everybody is going to know how to handle what you are going through. Some have never experienced it. Some don't know. And when it comes to death in general, is something I find people are so awkward about, right? Loss, people are really awkward about loss. Then when it's a loss that pertains to a pregnancy, a baby, a child, people become silent or say awkward things. And so in their intention, they unintentionally say things to you that really goes a long way to make things worse, that leaves people feeling quite doomed. So as we speak about it, it's important the environment in which you my apologies, in which you surround yourself, who you surround yourself with when you're going through a loss of this nature. You know, be that friends, family, and I'm going to say this because this is my practice, so I do this all day long. I've seen parents, and I mean like parents as in the in-laws, and I have to advise my clients, stay away from the in-laws. Just keep your in-laws out of the picture for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, however long it takes for the two of you to connect. Because when you have a trauma of this nature, it's about connecting. For some, reconnecting. You know, and there are things that you can do to ensure that you are in a safe space with each other, because words have impact. Words have a strong impact on the person that receives the words. Negatively, it has so much more, it does so much more damage than we intend it to do. And that's why, for me, the environment is really important. If you have that one friend that you can say, I can trust this person, I feel safe with this person, you know, with your wife, because not everybody's ready to talk to the partners. Even though I do encourage, even though we have, exercise that we do to foster that communication, the reality is not everyone is ready for that conversation in those moments. And so my go-to is to say to you, find a friend that you feel safe with. Find somebody you feel safe with and confide in them. Let them help you to really understand how you can move forward. And going back to what you said, Conic, is the identity. Again, we're talking about identity tonight. Am I a father? I'm questioning, do I have a right to say I'm a father? Do I have the permission to say so? That is identity, right? So what I hear from you is you're struggling with the identity. The truth of the matter is, like I said, you are a father. And I've heard men say, I'm not sure if I can say that. I'm not sure if baby has to be here for me to say I'm a father, because there's evidence. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm at work. I'm working, but I'm not productive. I'm showing up for work. I'm now completely lost because all my hope, all my dreams were in that child, looking forward to raising a child. And now I don't know who I am anymore. So I really have to support them in really asking them to think about the journey that you've taken, the journey it took for you to get to this point, to become pregnant. Okay, because no, it's not just women alone that become pregnant. It's both the men and women, the man and woman that becomes pregnant. So that actually goes through it. You are part of that makeup. Without you, it wouldn't happen. So it's really important that we consider ourselves as both of us are equally on this journey. We're both responsible for this journey. So I'm going to land my plane for a moment. I'm going to pause and say hello to Kimberly. Kimberly, thank you for being here. It's been a while. I've not seen you for a while, but yes, I do agree. And thank you once again for your vulnerability, Conic. It's so great to have you here. I think she says, I think that there are societal expectations. Absolutely. One of the things I look at is the dreams of fatherhood being shattered, but there's still that society expecting fathers to pick up where they've left off. I have men who tell me when this happens, when they have a loss of identity, here's what happens. Some will pick up substance misuse because it numbs the pain and it means that they don't have to think about things. Thank you so much. Hi, Zion. Welcome. Welcome. Good to see you here, bro. So that's one way. The second way is burying themselves into work, working all the hours God sent, avoiding going home because now they have to have a conversation. And for some men, the environment is not, a positive one for them to return to, especially in cases where you add the in-laws. Because here's what happens, and I can say from my perspective, being African too, we see it where something like a trauma like this happens, and you have the in-laws that come in for the woman. And when I say in-laws, I'm from a big family. From a big family, right? I'm the first of 6. my husband is the last of 10 children. Okay. And so when everybody comes in with good intentions, remember, and there is so much chatter happening, I have to say, can I just close my door for a moment? It's me and my husband. Shut the door for a second. It's my husband and I are going to have this conversation. They mean well, but really, are you ready for that? Is the question. And then what happens to the man is lost in all of this because the woman is the focus. The woman gets the conversation. They're speaking they're asking, how are you doing? How are things? Are you okay? What can we get you? And the whole time there is this positioning. You've got to, one thing I do, one thing I do in my practice is body language. So they're speaking, but the body language is half a shoulder turned away from the man. And I've seen this happen also when you're faced with healthcare practitioners, when you go to a hospital appointment, right? The conversation takes place and the turnaround is to the woman. The man will ask the question and the practitioner answered the woman the question. And I had to say, hold on a second. My husband and I are here together. We're in this. So whatever you've got addressed to him, to myself, you can speak to him. He asks you the question, look at him and answer his question. Right? So even society and our professionals have a way of dealing with men in these situations that the environment is not conducive to a man really being open and vulnerable and being able to be part and parcel of this whole journey. And that's before we get to the work conversations.
Christina, can I add this, if you don't mind?
Yes. Go ahead. Yes.
What if it's more so that overall, because I think kind of going back to my earlier statement is that because women have just been inundated with all of this care, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and the men have not. What if it's that neither one of them really know how to support each other?
Yes. Yes, I agree. And I've seen that too in practice.
And yeah, it's just something I just so wait a minute, just a thought. Yeah.
And that's the reason why. Great question. Thank you so much for that question. I love that. I love your question. That's the reason why in practice I allow for time. So man and woman sat together, faced together. You've got to give that person the time to speak. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, go. No interruptions. Because no matter how uncomfortable conversations get, it is the best way to move forward. Because at least you want to really hear what your spouse is thinking, feeling, right? Because you don't know how to help each other, it is always best to hear that conversation, because by hearing, we can understand. By understanding, it then means that you can begin to get some inkling, you can begin to really break down in your mind where those actions are coming from. Because sometimes it's not the words that we speak, it's the body language, it's the unintentional actions that we display that makes our partners feel like, I cannot breathe in this space, I cannot speak in this space, I cannot express myself in this space, without you intentionally wanting that to be the case. So when people don't know how to or what to, it's really important that one, you get help. Okay, let's not shy from getting help. That's the other thing as well, because you could be operating in blindness, not knowing where to go. It further exacerbates the resentment you begin to feel, because believe it or not, that does happen. That happens with lack of communication, lack of understanding, lack of compassion, lack of really giving that person the time and space and place to grieve in their own way. Because what you believe to be how they can grieve isn't what is necessarily the best way for them to grieve. So that's I take on board your question. Thank you so much, Curtis, for that. It's really important that we think about that we think about how do we operate in these situations. That's why I'm of the opinion that we really have to teach this, because let's think about it. We spend so many weeks, and I'm glad that Conic is here in the UK, right? We have that driving lesson. You learn to drive for weeks on end. You book your driving test. You go and do it. You might pass it first time. You might fail it several times, right? But we have the time to learn, to understand, to know, to correct. But we don't have any kind of education when it comes to miscarriage and baby loss, right? We have education in sex education. We learn that in school. You know, if you're here, year 7 from year 9 up until year 11, right? You learn that. And I know because I teach in schools. So I'm also a teacher, right? So here's the thing. We learn those things, but we don't teach how we can support each other when it comes to trauma. We don't take the time to be patient. We have time to be patient to learn to drive, but yet there is no patience when it comes to a loss of life and trauma. We expect to just get over it or just overcome it. And I hear this word being used a lot. Oh, you know, you're healed, you're healed, you're healed, you're healed. How can we have healing when there's no compassion? How can we have healing when there's no discussion? How can you have healing when there's no communication? Right? It makes no sense. What I am going to say is men and women have to come together to start having these conversations. And we also need to have spaces for men to be men. See, my child is now in reception. Okay. So Connie, you will know what this means. Reception school here is after preschool. So it's a year after preschool, 4 to 5 years old. And even now is having to teach him that awareness. People might say, oh my God, he's so young. No, he's not. That awareness, I believe, is really important that we teach that from young. We teach that so boys grow up when it comes to crying. I'm like, okay, this is how you feel right now. Why are you crying? Okay, this is why you're crying. I understand why you're crying. Go ahead. Please cry away. When you're finished, let it out your system and let it go. Mommy's here to listen. Okay? We have to have those spaces and environment and teach, you know, our young men and men even now that it is okay to grieve the way that feels right for you. I cannot tell you how to grieve as a man. I cannot tell you how to be. The one thing I see also in schools is how, you know, the education system is stopping boys being boys, what is innate in us and how we want to do things as humans. If a boy feels like crying and saying, this has been done to me, it's an injustice, we cannot condone them being ridiculed because it doesn't fit into the, you know, societal expectations or narrative. They have to be themselves. Really important. Because then when we get to the point of, if we ever, God forbid, experience miscarriage or baby loss, then we become lost. Then we lose identity. We're like, what do we do? I'm not really sure how to be. I'm not really sure how to behave. I'm not really do I ask for permission? Do I hide away? Do I talk about it? Do I express it? Do I speak to my partner about it? Confusion sets in. And that doesn't help the situation. It makes it 10 times worse. You know, so I'm going to pause my mic for a moment and open the floor.
I think oh, no, go ahead.
No, I'm saying, let me hear from you. I was saying, let me hear from you.
I think another thing is how do we deal with trauma? What is your response to trauma and negative stimulation? How do those things go throughout your day? And what are the reactions of the negative stimulation in a relationship? Say, for example, you're in a relationship and something bad happens to you at work. You had an argument with someone and you come home. That's going to teach you a lot about your partner, how they're able to deal with that, whether it be man or woman. And once you understand that, how they deal with it, then you begin to be more empathetic to how I can help them, either by just being a presence or talking. But sometimes you don't even have to say anything. You can just be there and watch, like you just said, watch their social cues, watch their body language, and you begin to become in tune. Because if you're in a relationship for a long time, hopefully or ideally, you're supposed to be able to feel what your partner is feeling. But sometimes it doesn't happen because we're all raised differently, of course. but you want to be in tune so you can feel it. Okay, this is how he responds to this trauma. This is how he responds to that trauma, or this trauma, or that trauma, because we're all walking trauma bombs. There's traumas inside of us every single day. We have a trauma inside of us from somewhere else, something we saw on the news or whatever. But how do you deal with that? So when it comes to child loss, that trauma response may show up again. When it comes to a family member dying, that trauma response may show up again. When it comes up to an uncomfortable conversation with a psychologist or just you and your partner, that trauma response may come up again because it was not meant to be harmful, but it is because we didn't spend time just allowing it to happen. We shut it down gently or we shut it down strategically. A lot of times our body language, like you were saying, if you turn away when someone is talking about something, screaming at the top of their lungs, there's a reason for that. And so we have to be there and be unafraid of what's going to come out. And if your voice shakes, if you get nervous, you feel uncomfortable, there's no right way to say a lot of things, but you just have to say it. You have to be the first person to make the first mistake. And then that person is going to see, okay, this person's comfortable with saying whatever. I'm comfortable with saying whatever. We're going to argue about it. We're going to curse each other out. But at the end of the day, I know this person loves me based on the history that we created together. And that takes time to build. It does. It takes years. It may take decades, depending on how in tune you are with yourself. And then you can get back to that partner. But you have to understand, like I said again, trauma bonds, you said it, like you said, body language, and also triggers around you that are walking landmines. We're stepping into things every single day, and we have to be mindful, not just of your partner, your wife, your husband. Be mindful of your traumas. And look, we have to sometimes look ourselves in the eye and have the uncomfortable conversation with, why am I talking this way to myself? And why, when I talk out loud, the voice is not coming out that what I said to myself in my head? Why am I muting myself in a relationship? Because in reality, nobody has chains over you. Nobody controls you. But when the heart is involved, that's when the chains come, or that's when you mute yourself because you don't understand how to get your heart muscle to activate your truth the right way. And when it's not activating your truth the right way, like I said again, the trauma bonds or the traumas begin to trigger you to go back to your factory settings, which are shut down, yell, leave, procrastinate, anxiety, all the negative things that we think that come out of trauma. We start to show those things because the space is not there. And I think we need to really spend time with self. That's the hardest thing to do. Spend time with yourself and your mind, body, and soul. Spend time with yourself and begin to ask yourself questions, because we are looking for people to do things for us, which is very important. But we must learn how to ask ourselves the hardest question. Why am I like that? Why does this affect me? And what do I do about it? And the first question is the hardest one. If you're going to cry, you're going to shake, but you got to spend more time with yourself to understand yourself. That's how we begin to unravel society, because this is a societal issue. No matter if you're in the Northwest or East, we're all dealing with some level of this type of issue in different frameworks. And we have to start to unravel it like we're doing right now. We don't have to have 1 million people. It could be me, myself, my connection with spirit, or my connection with you guys right here and sister. And that's enough for me just to be there. We don't have to talk about the problem. We can just talk about what's going on in my day. And that right there is helping me get over the trauma. It's not about, oh, what happened? Your child died. I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about the news. Let's talk about what we're going to do on our vacation. That right there is helping me get over the trauma. And then over time, I'll feel comfortable with the conversation with myself that I can trust this person, and now I can tell them what I feel. So that's what I think. My thoughts.
Thank you so much. I'm going to do Annie's comments, and then I'll come back to respond to what you said. If I can find it. It says the in-laws. I think she was saying that you don't need to avoid the in-laws, as mine was God sent. And when she lost her, my screen is not allowing me to read the whole of. Okay, let me try and find it. As when I lost my baby at 4 months, they were tower of strength. And so I do agree. Not every in-law is terrible. You have really good in-laws that will come and support. I come from a supportive environment on my side, my husband's side, which is really amazing that they will come in, they will say, look, how can we help you? But for me, the reason I said stay there is because I really wanted my husband and I to focus on each other. I wanted us to understand what we were going through, understand our journey, and remember the journey we just come through, and to be able to communicate, and for me to hear from him and he to hear from me, and know that we can move forward solidly, with whatever decisions and options, and also to discuss the options, because sometimes when your in-laws are coming in that moment, it can be quite raw. And you may not necessarily feel like having people come in because we're from a big family. It's that thing of, okay, let it be just the two of us momentarily. Let's focus. Let's ask the questions. If we can't find the answers, then we can begin to go out. But don't get me wrong. Yes, a handful we're told of what was going on, and we're very selective in who we're allowed to come into our space in those moments, in those raw moments. So I do agree, not every in-law or in-laws are terrible. You have good ones. You have someone who like, okay, it's up to you guys. You have those who can be over helpful. So there are different types of in-laws. I'm going to go back to what you said. Thank you very much for your comment, Annie. Let me go back to what you said, Jesse. When we think about it, and again, I'm going to go to in my practice, we have to understand. I'll go back to the aspect we spoke about earlier, which is your environment. Let's not forget that for some of us, the environment we grew up in goes a long way to shape how we think, how we feel, what we see, what our triggers are, how we are triggered. Okay, whether that be in our parents' home, growing up with aunties, growing up with granddad, uncles. When it comes to the topic of miscarriage and baby loss, I had to do a lot of research. I've been doing this now this is my 6th year into doing this. Before that, I practiced in pre and postnatal, for instance, nutrition for women. So I worked with a lot of women. And what happens is, and what's been happening for generations, people go through miscarriage. As I said before, at the beginning of my show, I always say, I always deal with the facts and figures first of all. We know that 1 in 4 will experience miscarriage. 1 in 8 couples experience fertility issues. Okay? Now imagine miscarriage is a common thing, but it's seldom spoken about. There is this stigma and taboo that comes with the word miscarriage or baby loss. Surprisingly enough, that one still knocks me up. I keep thinking to myself, why is it so much of a taboo? Why is it so much of a stigma that's applied both in the home and at the workplace? We have to think our environment. I had to really think back at my mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, aunties, and people around me who had miscarriages, but never once spoke about it. You never once knew about it. But then when you begin to reflect and think back, you realize, oh my goodness, that's what they were going through. When the different conversations or the secrecy that's happening and so on and so forth. Our environment shapes us and leaves us unprepared for this journey. And so when it happens, we are, like I said before, we're operating from a blind spot. Okay? Those triggers come because we have seen the way that people that we grew up with, our environment, treat things, whether that be communication. Some do not communicate at all. Or when you speak about something that's so sensitive, so vulnerable, you're shut down. So we are shaped and molded by our environment, our experiences. And so it becomes really difficult when you add trauma to it. Where do you go? What do you do? I mean, Connie, you're quite blessed. You have a psychologist in the house with you, right? You got a gold star there. Hold on to her. Hold on to her, right? Because you've got gold right there. Not all of us have that to depend on. Not all of us have the background or the support to depend on. And therefore, we operate in these moments of trauma in fear, in anxiety, in stress mode. And stress mode may not may not be a second or day or 2 days. For some, it's years. Anxiety, for some, it's years. Triggers, for some, is a lifetime. Until you get to begin to unpick those things, those triggers, with a professional or professional help, right? Because you cannot do it alone. That's the one thing I can say very confidently. You cannot do it alone. It will it will kill you before that happens. You cannot do it alone. You have to do it with help, with support, with care, with love, with compassion. So our environment has so much to do with how, and I don't speak of just parents and how we grew up, environments, that also means our friendships, that means our workspaces, that means what we've experienced. And that sometimes that means what we tell ourselves, our own limiting beliefs of ourselves. I will go into the negative self-talk that we tell ourselves, whether you're male or female. For women, it's my body is this negative thing. My body is useless. My body is, it's just dry, and all these comments. And then you go into a healthcare practitioner space, a fertility space, that will call you things like incompetent cervix, right? Or for the man, there are other names. Oh, you have a low sperm count, so I don't think your age says you can no longer produce, or whatever it is that we hear. Those are all lived experiences that is a trigger every time, and chips at your confidence every time, and chips at your identity every time. So by the time we get to this point of conversations, we are well and truly worn down. So when I operate and when I speak to and when I work with my clients, I have to first of all ask the question, before you embarked on the journey of becoming a parent, who were you? Who were you? Right? Your identity. Who were you? So who is Connick? Who's Jesse? Who's Curtis? Were you a fun-loving person? Did you have beliefs? Did you have dreams? Right? You were somebody who had confidence. You're somebody who wanted, for some people, they're go-getters. Some people, they thrive on compassion. They thrive on supporting people. They thrive on, moving forward with confidence. They thrive on so many things. Now you're at a point of this loss. The work has got to be done on yourself. How do we move forward? The first question I ask my couples is, what are you seeking? What's the end goal? Right? What is it you're looking for at this point? What do you want to happen? Then we look at the options open to you, whilst still reminding the men especially that you are a father. I'm going to go back to Connick's, point that he made, where you're questioning yourself. You're doubting yourself. You're second guessing yourself. Am I a dad? Am I not? I have no child to think about. I have no evidence. And once you start to unpick and unpack, so I look at it as from my programs, it is known as the URL. So the unlearn, relearn, and learn. We have to unlearn the negative thoughts, the limiting beliefs we have, right? We have to relearn how to be compassionate with ourselves first, how to love ourselves, how to understand and reconnect with ourselves, how to remember who we were before we began this journey of fatherhood, right? And then learn, what tools can I add in my toolbox to move forward with? Can I be positive about myself? Can I give myself, I always say, a pat on the back. I did well to get here. Yes, I've had a loss, but this journey hasn't been easy. So I need to give myself a break. I need to take time out. I need to have that self-care. And yes, for women that are watching this, men do also need self-care. Because what I've seen, especially in this journey, is women and self-care. We see a lot of programs, a lot of facilitation of women and self-care, but yet we don't have men and self-care. That's another angle, another situation, another avenue that men are excluded from. And yet it is the very foundation that you need to be okay in this journey. So it's really important that we have that self-care. I'm gonna pause my mic. I'm gonna open the floor to whoever wants to chime in. Feel free. I'm mindful that Annie's gonna wait. In fact, where is Annie? Annie, show your face. Annie snoozed a long time ago. And are you still with us? Are you in the land of paradise, dreaming about your holiday? But yes, let me pause for a moment and feel free, unmute yourselves and really let me know.
Of course,
What is that? Of course, you're still here. Of course,
Yeah.
silly me. So yes, it would be great. Annie, let's hear from you. You've been a mouse, really quiet. Not that mouse is quiet.
You're a great guest on stage. So I'm quite happy to sit here and do what I do, press buttons, right? I got stuck at the very beginning when you made that amazing announcement, Christiana, the breaking news. Men have emotions, research shows. Research. Now, we'll tell you, all of us here, we're men. We have emotions.
They have
We'll
emotions.
Do
you know why? Because you're human.
Look at research. Look at us. Just quote us. Curtis said, Connick said, Jesse said, Annie said, men have emotions. Yes, it's a fact.
They do.
Yeah, Annie, I was a bit confused on that one too. I was kind of like the research.
But it's true. It is true.
Yeah, we know it's true, but we're not sure we needed a research to tell us that.
You know what? One thing I learned about the world, they do so many researches in the world. Oh my goodness! They even research how we breathe per millisecond and how it impacts the environment or how it impacts us. There's a lot of research and a lot of studies that happens. So yeah, studies show that men have emotions too. I already knew that, but never mind.
Let's leave that alone. Amazing point you all made. It is. This is one of those very, I think, issues that I'm not sure what else I should do. I have to resolve it. So many things have to happen, right? So I think Curtis' point that we're trying to share space and attention with the women in our lives, and that's just, that's a battleground, really. I don't know whether we can ever, I'm not saying we don't need to win the battleground, because we're just asking for a bit of consideration, really. What if a few more percent of that ground?
It's not about winning, really.
No. I think I said all of us here will say the women should get all the attention and the sympathy that they get. Of course they should. We agree with that. But please don't go away thinking men don't care. Men, of course, men care. And I mean, like you said, Christian, this miscarriage, baby loss can break a man. It can break relationships, because we just and said not many know how much we invest in the whole. The pregnancy for me was the scariest thing ever. I was going to say in the first 3 months, then it went on to the whole pregnancy. Until the baby was born, I couldn't breathe almost. So God help me if anything had gone wrong. And then said, the kid's now 17, I still can't breathe. I'm saying because everything we are tied into our kids, and it's tied into who they are. They're who we are. Maybe not everyone will admit that, but I say my kids are central. But it's where life is, and I guess we thank you for bringing these conversations, because we didn't talk about these things, and begin to find it's everything you said is in the picture. So that's why I'm so glad that you've all come and shared with us today. So my thing, in case you're wondering, is to somehow transcribe this into a form that we can use in a book.
And everything you shared today, you know, will help us to have a much better view, a more accurate view, a more real life view of what men really think. So for that, I
Yes.
thank you all. I really do. There's a lot there that we need to unpack, that we need to work on.
Yes.
I think that maybe I said my biggest takeaway will be, we need to find our peace as men. We need to actually find our peace, whatever that means. Find happy relationships where we can coexist, where we can live with the love that you mentioned earlier, Christiana. Live in love together. That's what it's about, really. So when that happens, we can move. We can move forward together. But sadly, too many people don't live, in joy and peace. And then when something happens, like baby loss, it throws everything, and then they can't come back. I think that there is a way that we can prepare ourselves to be a bit more resilient, a bit more together, a bit more loving in how we approach life together, rather than seen as it's all mine, nothing to do with you. Look, this plays on to bigger games, my friends. This is an issue, right? We're talking baby loss, which is before baby comes, or maybe baby doesn't come. So we can play this through to contact when the relationship breaks down, through to divorce when the relationship really breaks down. I'm saying this same issue, giving men very little consideration, applies. It carries on for our lives. So I don't know whether we can necessarily solve it. I think we need to start talking about it, and then hopefully the world becomes. Go, Curtis.
I was just going to say, and I apologize, Christina, but I was just going to say really quick, is that I think too, in line with what you just said, I think is that oftentimes because or even to my point earlier, because men or women really don't know how to support each other. And to Christina's point, you absolutely have to learn how to support each other. We don't know how to support each other because the women have been given too much of it and the men haven't been given very little of it. And so oftentimes, and I think from a man's perspective, that same little boy whose mother wants to please him or take care of him, and how that little boy might want to make sure that mommy's okay, and that little boy and mommy knows that my son needs those attaboys. Hey, you did a really good job. Thank you for doing that for me. Guess what happens? We become those men. That boy becomes that man who enjoys that. Baby, thank you for doing that. That was a good job. And if mamas can understand that those boys become the husbands, because I know it's probably going to sound biased, but to be honest, men really aren't that difficult. We like a few things, a few attaboys, and we'll walk a country mile for our family. And make it happen, but we're really not that complicated. We can absolutely feel invisible at times, and just from a personal note here, I'll say this because I'm gonna have to wrap it up for myself here. I got an appointment, but I'll say this: there are times when my wife and we've had some heated discussions, and I may have shared my feelings about something. Guess what she heard? She heard yelling. She heard yelling.
And so I'm glad you said that.
My question is, well, wait a minute. Out of all I just said to you, you heard yelling? So I think that's one of the bigger things that why we as men feel invisible, because we are letting women, our wives, our mates, we are letting them know how we feel. But sometimes you have to become a student of each other and learn from each other, and how he likes it or how she likes certain things, whatever. And obviously it's not always sexual, it's just serving each other. So I'll leave it at that. So thank you, Christian.
Thank you, Curtis. I'm just going
No,
to
no,
add, thank you so much for being here. It's been such a
absolutely.
pleasure to have you. And
Absolutely.
thank you so much for
you.
your contribution. But
Sure.
before you go, I'm just going to add this very quickly. And I wanted to speak in relation to what you raised earlier. And is to say this, language really matters. So I would say the English language is a powerful thing. It has the ability to make or break you. And how we use it in our relationships, in our environment, is truly important. And the same thing with raising our children, you know? So how we use the language is really important. It's what connects or disconnects us from each other. I do agree with you, Curtis. Men and women need to come together to have these conversations. It must be done. There's no way around it. There's no way out of it. It must be done for understanding, if nothing else, for understanding and for compassion. It's a key thing. We mentioned communication. We mentioned, our environment. My big thing is communication, because that is the foundation and bedrock of everything that we do. Without communication, there is no order. There is no peace. There is no love. Because from communication comes understanding, comes the compassion, comes the love. We have to physically communicate how we're feeling, how we're truly feeling, as well as support. It's all in our language. So the use of language is really important. It's my key thing and my takeaway this evening, if I'm taking anything away from today's conversations, is how we communicate to one another.
Yeah, no, Conic, it's great to have you on stage. Great to have a British person on stage. When Christiana said you're coming, I'm like, he won't. He's British, he won't. But you're here.
I was like, he's coming. I was vouching for you, Conic.
I was like, I was not going to miss it. I just had another as well. And I'm saying to my wife, come on, we got to go. You made it. Curtis, Jesse, you two have shared like stuff, and Annie, you as well, that most men won't talk about. They can't talk about it. They don't know how to talk about it. And I think there's a thing here with social media. Yeah, we are all carrying one of these around. We're all presenters in our own little life. We're all showing life. And I think what's really awesome about you two, and I don't know you really, I just know Jesse, you do fitness. Curtis, you're an executive coach. I'm not 100% sure what an executive coach is, but I get you help people. I hope for both of you, I hope for both of you that you use your platform to talk about this if you're able to, because I think more that people like you share this and share how you feel, your journey, what it's like to communicate, how you feel about things, and the fact that men need love too. When people are scrolling through stuff and they're doom scrolling, because I do it all the time. I doom scroll and then I'm like, oh, recipe, I'll cook that for my wife. To show men that it's okay to break out of that whole mass, like, the toxic, I can't even talk because masculinity, that stuff, to show that you can still be masculine, but still have feelings, still be gentle, still be a man. Because I get quite a lot. This is something that I've noticed with me. Is I communicate with my wife, and I said to her, "Why do you never take me out on a date night?" She said, "What do you mean?" It's like, I want you to take me on a date night.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
Where are my flowers, girl? Where are my flowers?
It's true. Can I say?
You notice this?
I've actually bought my husband flowers. I have.
Yeah, I want flowers.
Why not?
Because she'll be able to hear me. But I love plants. She buys me plants, and she's actually taking me for a date night somewhere. She brought me a date night voucher. In fact, she brought me 2 date night vouchers for Christmas. I was over the moon. But the one thing that's a bit of an issue, and this is different to Miscarriage, is when I share that with my, men's men guys, they're like, they don't get it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like not masculine to want that, and it's like, but I just want to know that I'm loved. And I've expressed to my wife a few times, just because she's a psychologist, don't mean she gets it. I've explained to her, I need you to tell me that that I am loved. Because if you tell me that, if you show me that, and if you realize that we talk two different love languages, just because your love language is acts of service, well, mine's acts of service, hers is talking. She can't speak her love language to me because it isn't mine. And I can't speak my love language to hers because it isn't hers. You know what I mean? I have to learn her language and her use her again, can't talk.
I know
She
what you
has
mean.
to learn mine. But what I'm hearing from you two is just like how like switched on you are and how understanding you are of what your wives or partners are going through, and the ability that you have to be able to express what you're going through. So I'm going to end that again and say, I hope to follow you guys. I'll find you on LinkedIn or whatever. Use your platform and talk about it, because there's not enough out there that is doing this. And if we talk about it, then I believe that we'll make a difference, and it will give other men that permission to go, I can feel like this. It's okay to do this. And with this platform as well, to be able to look at this and say, so for example, what you've said about me, am I a dad or not? Don't really know. But yeah, if I want to call myself a dad, I can call myself a dad. That's absolutely okay, because
but you are a dad.
You're a great man, because you took the time to learn about what I can deal with and what I cannot deal with, and express it to my partner, and also express it to myself. You're great. No status, no name, no title. You're great just because of you, who you are. No status, no title makes anybody great or less than. You are already a man because you took the time to learn how to be a man. That's what a man is. It's not about I'm a man because you see me with a goatee, you see me with a shirt on, you see me with a jacket, I hang out with the guys. That doesn't mean nothing. What matters is, what can you do when there are responsibilities placed in front of you? And the responsibility first is yourself. And then I can take care of others. I have to learn to take care of myself, my soul, my mind, my body. I have to unravel those things so I can give love. If I do not know love, because you know love, you're speaking love. Everything you said is all love language. And when you don't understand what love is, it comes out chaotic, and it comes out something else. I'll see you later, brother. And we have to understand that the language of communication is always unraveling. And when we don't see the language of communication properly, we look at it differently based on how we grew up. If I grew up in the suburbs or you grew up in a poor neighborhood, we may talk about different things, and it may reflect on how we go about marrying a partner, how we go about living, and how we go about going to work. So we must learn about ourselves. Like I said earlier, the hardest thing is learning about you. We always try to fix people, but we should. Humanity is supposed to stand together. But you must spend time digging into yourself. It's like an onion. You're going to cry all the single time, but it's okay. But you need it. And your wife needs it. Your husband needs it. Your kids need it. Your community needs that. You have to, like me, I had to dig through myself all the time to become the man that I am today. And if I don't dig, I can't do nothing for nobody. I can't help you. I can only sympathize. But because I did, I know where the hole is. I'm going to block you from going in. So that's all I got to say. That's it.
Jesse, that's the reason why I said earlier, it's important that men take the time for self-care first, right? Your self-care is so important, because I see this in spaces, a lot of women's spaces. Self-care this and self-care that. This month self-care, next week self-care. But you don't hear that from a male perspective. We need to take the time, or I should say, we need to allow that time for you guys to take the time to self-care. Self-care means identifying with yourself, reconnecting with yourself, understanding yourself, being able to be you and who you embody. Who am I? What does that mean? What do I want to be? What do I look like? And I mentioned earlier, before you began the journey of fatherhood, who were you? What made you tick? What made you smile? What made you happy? What gave you courage? What gave you confidence? What activities do you participate in? Because when we go on this journey, we forget ourselves. A part of us is lost. That also applies to men. Because why? You're human beings, first of all. So any human will experience all of these things. And that's the reason why it's important to give yourself that opportunity, that time, that space and that grace to get to know yourself, know thyself on this journey. So the next topic, the next show is going to be about men grieve too. So it's that thing of what does grief look like for men? And that's in 2 weeks' time. So feel free to join us in two weeks' time. This show, Connie, because you're new to it, this has been going on for 18 months. So this has been going on for 18 months now. And we cover all kinds of topics related to miscarriage and baby loss. And so this month, I'm dedicating to men, and next month also to men. And so our topic in 2 weeks' time is going to be on men grieve too, and really what that looks like for men. So I want to thank you so much for being here. Let me say hi to those who hold on. Sorry, who is on? Okay, let's get through the comments because I've got to go. I've got a tiny person to put to bed.
Yes. And Curtis does do serious talk. It's serious, especially around men's well-being and leadership conversations. And I think his next show is tomorrow, Friday. Well, is it tonight? Tonight, I think. Friday. Tonight at 1 a.m. Right? So if you want to go along, then please do go along. It's always eye-opening, and it is real talk for men, really. That's the way I look at it. There's things like you can say in this room that you probably won't say anywhere else. And I say like that. Yes. I love them. I'm just sharing the link in the comments, so if anyone wants to find the easier way to get there, then please do, right? Alavin's comment is quite interesting. So each time, her dad's wife got pregnant, she was the one who was sick. Like she had morning sickness, is what it sounds like. And each time they went through miscarriage, she felt the pain, essentially. And so this happened 7 or 8 times before they had a little child, I tell you. And Conic, you said you understand Conic, and I say I'm baffled, but that baffles me. But I'm sure it can happen, right? I don't know how. I say there must be a science there somewhere, And so there's something. I don't know. Is there connection between humans? What is it?
There is.
Yes.
There is. Yes.
So when I went to the doctors, so my wife did not have morning sickness the minute we found out that she was pregnant. So we were doing the strip test. So what I didn't know at the time was, yes, we were pregnant when we obviously finally figured out, but we must have been entering the HGC dropping and the miscarriage starting because the lines were quite faint. So I didn't believe that she was pregnant. I was like, no way. So we had to do the test where it actually says the words pregnant before I was okay. So because we had that whole 24 hours of stress, when we found out that she was actually pregnant, so I'm kind of quite prone to stress. I've had a stressful few years, Bell's palsy, part of my face doesn't work properly, etc., etc. So then I got all the symptoms. I was sick all day. I couldn't eat anything, I couldn't look at anything. I felt awful. It was like I was pregnant and she wasn't. I couldn't understand what was wrong. So then when I went to the doctors and said something's not right, the doctor laughed initially, but it was like, you've got the male pregnancy symptoms, you're actually doing the symptoms for her of pregnancy. My wife laughed because she's like, I suppose this is supposed to be about me. And I'm like, center of attention, what can I say? I was like, when does it stop? When does it stop? And she's like, it might be on for the first trimester. You might actually have this for 12 weeks. And I felt awful. I can't describe to you how bad it was. I literally can't describe to you. But it was stress. And in a sense, I'm kind of, and I mean this respectful with my own words, my own situation. I'm kind of glad that I went through it because it's allowed me to kind of like understand her a little bit more and understand what stress looks like in pregnancy and how to deal with it next time. Because I have to have that belief that we're going to get pregnant again. It's going to be okay. I have to have that belief, whether it happens or not. I'm choosing to have that belief. But I think the thing, I'll end it at this with why I think this happened to me, is because I am very ADHD, slight twist of autism. I sort of say what's going on in my head. And what I said to my wife, and it's the one thing and I'll always regret, but I know it came from just a place of just saying it. But I said to my wife, I'm really worried about this pregnancy because I know not everybody can carry it to full term. And I never expected when I said that comment that we would be one of the couples that didn't carry it to full term. And I felt like I had caused her to have that miscarriage because I said that. And I know that that's not true. I didn't cause it. She didn't cause it. It just happened. I know that it is what it is. It is what it is, but I mean, it happened. It's nobody's fault that happened. But going through this miscarriage for me, and I'm sure we'll talk about it next time because it's grief. It's made me be able to look at things in a different way and almost prepare myself differently for when she's pregnant again, and hopefully not go through male pregnancy. And if I do, that's fine. But it is just stress. That's all it is. It's just stress.
It could be super empathy. Super empathy, taking on someone else's pain and discomfort.
There is a phenomenon of pregnancy that is actually true. So men do take on symptoms of women's pregnancy. Is something that we don't talk about often, but it does happen. And I think it does as the COVID syndrome is what it's called. So you can take on things like nausea, things like, even your belly growing, just different symptoms. Each man is different. So that is something real. It is real.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah. Yes, I say good luck. Good luck for sure, right? It will happen. And there's I think we can choose to live in a life of optimism and blind faith. And so we should. Yes. That's much better than the what ifs, the what if way of living. What if it goes wrong? Something like that. Live with total joy, and the best will happen. Now, Kimberly, welcome again. If I missed some comments because my computer played up, I had to restart my computer at least once, Christiana. My internet's been playing up every so often, but I'm back.
And we haven't seen Kimberly for ages. So glad to have her back. He's been gone for a little while.
Yeah, she joins a serious conversation, is what she said.
So she's saying we're not meant to live in isolation. We were made to live in community. Our subconscious mind is our child self. Our conscious mind is our adult self. This is true. The beautiful thing is we have free will and choice. A new life is one decision away. So yes, I do agree indeed. Thank you, Kimberly. Indeed.
Well said. And I missed a few comments. I my device restarts something. I lose all my comments. But this is the link to Curtis's event tonight. Oh, it's got a title. And I think the title is "Can These Dry Bones Live?"
Okay.
Breathing hope into life's desolate places. Yay! That's going to be interesting.
It sounds intriguing.
If you're intrigued, I click the link.
Sounds intriguing.
Join and share.
Definitely intriguing. Yes. So anyway, it's been awesome. Let's see what other comments we have because I truly have to dash away.
That's all I have on my side. So on my LinkedIn.
I don't think I've got anything. Do you have any comments from YouTube?
No, I don't look on YouTube. They come through here normally. And I think Connick's on YouTube. So, Jesse, great to meet you. It's been about 3 years in the making, right?
I know, right? I've never met you, but I've seen you. I've heard your voice. You've heard my voice. We never actually talked to each other.
I've heard an audio, I think, in the audio days. So that's a good year and a half ago.
Audio was a long time ago. Goodness me. I miss audio.
Me too.
I got a friend saying how great you are on my WhatsApp.
Oh.
Michelle saying how great Jesse is. He's cool as yes.
Jesse's awesome.
Everybody's awesome. Everybody's awesome. Everybody.
Especially you, my friend. Look, thank you for joining us. We really do.
We've got to bring in and welcome Connect to the community. This is our community, So welcome to our community.
Yes, welcome indeed. So let's connect, and I will. What's the one I'm looking for? I will, inundate you with invites to events. Now, if you can join some, that'd be really good. Now, if you can speak more, because I love to learn what you do. Now, let's do a coffee chat. That's what we'll do around here, right? Now, let's do a coffee chat.
We're meeting definitely. He's in Nottingham.
I'm in Cornwall, so the other side of the country. right? So
Haha.
Zoom works well.
Three of you guys gotta meet. All three of you gotta meet somehow. You gotta meet up somewhere at a central location, just have like a little party, you know, have a little thing.
Eddie is
That's what it is.
5 hours away from me, Jesse.
Oh man.
And
Oh
then
man.
Connect is 20 minutes away from me. So who do you think I'm going to go to first?
Yes.
Out. Gonna leave you out like that. So
I've already seen Eddie. I've met Eddie before. All 6'2",
Yeah.
all 6'2" of him. I've seen
wow,
him
you think
before.
too? I didn't know that. No,
He's
no.
6'2", right?
Good to
I'm
know.
5'1". I'm
Five.
petite.
Amazing. Amazing.
You
Right.
know,
5. It's more like 5, right?
no,
Christian,
it's 5'1". Although he calls me 5 foot nothing, I'm like, whatever.
So all three of you guys gotta come to America because I want to host all three of you. All three of you need to come to New York City. You need to have like a whole live event in person. You get a
Yeah.
studio audience. We get the community involved. We make it big. That's what we gotta do.
Well,
Let's
like
do
For
that.
real.
No,
Let's do
we
it. Let's
like
do it.
that.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's
Find the
Something
space.
amazing.
Find the space.
2026. No, we can. No, let's do it. No, let's work
And-
on it.
And like
Absolutely.
356, we are open to, so many opportunities. So yes. In fact,
It's
Darren and I were
fun.
talking about a show in Nigeria recently. So yes.
Think about it. We watch so many things online, but when we have person-to-person contact, there's no time to think. Everything is instant, like boom. Let's
Yes.
respond right now. Let the audience get involved. Let the kids get involved. We make an entire event out of it. And that's how we change things. Just like back in the traditional days, we had culture where people would sit down, we would talk, we would listen, and everyone would have a chance to get their angst off. That's what we're missing now. We
That's
have to have
amazing.
spaces just to let it out. Whatever it is, let that stuff fly, baby. That's what you gotta do. You gotta let it out.
I agree 100%. And I say, if you think it's this side of the year and you start talking about it in earnest before February, it will happen.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to make it happen, right? It's when we leave things to drift that nothing happens. My friend, you're superstars. Christiana, you're a star as well, of course. And you bring the conversations.
Thanks, Annie. Thanks, Conic. Thanks, Jesse. I'm going to say a quick hi to and thank you to William and Lisa, Kemi, Annie, Alavine was here earlier. Linda Meyer was here. Kimberly, thank you. And who else have we missed? I think Natalie was here earlier too.
Yeah,
Natalie was here. Zion, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate you all. Who else am I missing? Do you know something? Kiefer was here tonight. Oh my goodness.
Was he?
Yes, he was. Thank you, Kiefer. It's so good to see you. Here, I'll have to kind of visit him later. I might ring him. And Sherry was here too. I invited Sherry quite a little while ago. I'm so glad she could make it. It brings me so much joy when people show up and they contribute and they come to hear, they come to talk about how they really feel. This show is always unexpected in the sense that I never know what's going to happen on the show. We've had people on this show who've cried and bawled their eyes out, who've come to get support, who for me, I am very much so grateful that this space that was created, it's a judgment-free space, a place that people can come in and they can feel comfortable to share and to talk openly, candidly about what they're going through, because we never know what people are going through, because we do not wear what we go through on our faces. We can never tell, right? Yeah. And so I'm proud of the space that we've created to be able to give others the space. For me, the reason this began, I set this up to begin with, is because I never had the space. There was no help. After 2.5 sessions with my therapist, I was like, sorry, you're not for me. See you later. Bye. I need to work this out myself. So this is a space that was created both offline, online. I want to thank you guys. You guys make it what it is. The community that shows up and comes, and those who've been here from day one, that are still coming here from since day one. I do want to thank you. Jesse was one of those. It's all around the LinkedIn audio back in the day. So thank you so much for being here. And 18 months later, we're still here. You guys are amazing. I do want to say thank you so much for supporting us, and God bless you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week and weekend. And Conic, you and I will connect definitely. A drive away from you.
Yeah, so the same Miss is it iconic or is it conic? Like which one? How do I find you on LinkedIn? And I haven't found you yet. I haven't looked.
It's Conic.
So type my first name in, because I guarantee
Mm-hmm.
you, no one else is going to come up with that name, and you will find me.
Well,
My
it's
surname is
It's all one word.
all one word.
No, it's with the hyphen. Sullivan. Right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's
it is.
try. Okay.
I'm sure
So,
I
yes.
could find you, so one of us will find the other.
Yeah, please find me because I also we're going to do a thank you post, so I want to tag
Yes.
you. And if I can't find you, I'm in trouble. We'll make it happen.
I'll tell him off. He knows that. He's in trouble.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. God bless you. God bless you, Thomas. God bless you, Amy. God bless you, everybody. It's a pleasure.
Soon.
Thank you very much.
Take care. All.
See you in 2 weeks' time. See you guys.